In the beginning, there was a man named Ezekiel, a humble shepherd, living in the valley of Danaan. The land was rich, and the people lived in peace under the sun's warmth, but there was a shadow cast over the land, one that had lingered for many years. It was the whisper of the divine, the ancient prophecy that spoke of a time when darkness would rise from the depths and try to swallow the light of the righteous. Ezekiel had heard these tales from his elders, but he paid them no mind, for he believed in the peaceful life of a shepherd. One day, as Ezekiel led his flock of sheep through the valley, a strange wind began to stir the trees. It was not a wind that came from the mountains or the sea, but a wind that seemed to rise from the earth itself. The sky darkened, and Ezekiel felt a stirring within his soul. He looked around, but no one was near. The land was quiet, save for the rustling of the trees. He sat on a rock, pondering what had just happened, when a voice, low and deep, echoed in his ears. "Ezekiel," the voice said, "the time has come for you to fulfill your destiny." His heart raced, and he knew that this was no ordinary moment. The prophecy was real, and it had called him. The wind whispered again, "The land will face a great trial, and only you can lead your people through it." With great trepidation, Ezekiel stood, gathering his sheep and making his way back to his home. As he walked, he wondered what this trial could be. Was it an enemy from afar or a force of nature? No answers came, only the certainty that he had been chosen for something far greater than himself. When he returned to his village, he found the people in great turmoil. Fires had started in the distant hills, and the earth had begun to tremble. The animals were restless, and a sense of dread hung in the air. The elders, wise and seasoned, gathered in the center of the village to discuss what was happening. "Ezekiel," the chief elder said, "the signs are clear. The darkness foretold has arrived. We must prepare for the coming trial, but we do not know how. You have been chosen, for your heart is pure and your faith is unwavering. You must seek the guidance of the ancient temple in the mountains. Only there will you find the wisdom to lead us through what is to come." Ezekiel nodded solemnly. His journey was about to begin, and with it, the weight of the world would rest upon his shoulders. Ezekiel set out the next day, carrying only his staff and a small satchel of provisions. He knew the path to the temple well, for it was one that his ancestors had walked many times, but the journey now felt different. The air was heavy with anticipation, and the land beneath his feet seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. As he walked down the winds picked up once more, and he could hear faint whispers in the breeze. They were voices, but not of this world. For days he traveled through the wilderness, passing through dense forests and crossing vast deserts. Sun beat down on him relentlessly, and his body grew weary. But his resolve did not falter. The visions of the ancient prophecy haunted him, and he knew that there was no turning back. The darkness was coming, and the only way to stop it was to find the wisdom hidden in the temple. One evening, as he camped beneath a vast starry sky, Ezekiel was visited by a strange figure. It was a man, cloaked in white, his face hidden by a hood. The figure approached silently, as if walking on the very air. "Ezekiel," the figure said, his voice like a thousand echoes, "you have come far, but the path ahead will not be easy. There will be trials great and terrible. But fear not, for you are not alone. The divine watches over you, and your faith will be your strength." Ezekiel, though startled, stood firm. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am a messenger," the figure replied, "sent to guide you. But remember, the trial will test more than your body. It will test your soul." With that, the figure disappeared into the night, leaving Ezekiel to ponder his words. The next morning, he resumed his journey, but now a sense of peace had settled in his heart. He knew that no matter what trials awaited him, he was not alone. As the days passed, Ezekiel reached the foot of the mountain that held the temple. The air grew colder, and the winds howled like wolves. It was a place of great power, where the veil between the physical world and the spiritual realm was thin. Ezekiel could feel the presence of something ancient and powerful, something that had been waiting for him. The temple stood at the summit, a grand structure of stone and marble, its walls etched with runes that glowed faintly in the dim light. Ezekiel climbed the steps, his heart pounding in his chest. At the top he entered the temple where a figure awaited him. An old man, his eyes shining with wisdom and sorrow. "You have come," the man said, "and now you must face the trial." Ezekiel stepped forward, and the doors of the temple closed behind him, sealing him in. The trial was about to begin. The trial began with a voice booming from all directions. "Ezekiel, you have been chosen, but now you must prove your worth. You must confront your greatest fear." Suddenly, the room around him transformed. The stone walls faded away, and Ezekiel found himself in a vast dark forest. The trees towered above him, their twisted branches reaching down like claws. The ground was soft beneath his feet, and the air was thick with fog. In the distance, he could hear something moving, something large. His heart raced. He had always feared the dark, the unknown, the creatures that lurked within it. But now he had no choice but to face his fear. As he walked through the forest, the shadows seemed to shift and move. He heard whispers, the voices of his ancestors, his family, and even his enemies. They taunted him, reminding him of every mistake he had ever made, every fear he had ever known. But Ezekiel did not falter. He clutched his staff tightly and continued forward, refusing to let the darkness consume him. Finally, he reached the center of the forest, where he found a large stone altar. On it lay a sword, glowing with a brilliant light. This was the sword of truth, the weapon that would allow him to defeat the darkness. But as he reached for it, a shadow rose from the ground, some monstrous creature, its eyes glowing with hatred. "You cannot defeat me," the creature hissed. "I am the darkness that dwells within all men." Ezekiel raised the sword, his grip firm. "I will not let fear control me," he said, his voice steady. "I will walk in the light, and I will defeat you." With a mighty swing, Ezekiel struck the creature, and as he did, the darkness that had consumed him for so long began to fade. The creature crumbled to dust, and the forest vanished. He found himself back in the temple, standing before the old man. "You have proven your worth," the man said, smiling. "The darkness has been vanquished, and you have fulfilled your destiny." Ezekiel bowed his head, knowing that the trial was not just about defeating an enemy, but about conquering the fear within himself. The darkness was always there, but as long as he walked in the light of his faith, he would never succumb to it. With the wisdom of the temple in his heart, Ezekiel returned to his people, ready to lead them through the trials ahead. The land would face many challenges, but as long as they held fast to their faith, they would endure. And Ezekiel the shepherd would lead them through the darkness, bringing light to the world once more.